Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Rand and I will be giving a lecture on succeeding in higher education. I'm going to be sharing some good study habits, tips, and tricks. A little bit about me. I'm a part-time university professor. I primarily teach STEM, that is cybersecurity and introductory information technology courses. I have a master's of science in cybersecurity as well as a bachelor's of science in computer network security. So getting into the introduction, uh, obviously, why academic success matters. I think we all know why. Common challenges students face. Well, there's a lot of them. But the important thing I'm going to talk about is study habits, time management, motivation, mindset, and tools and tech. So you got to build a strong foundation when you go to a university or a community college. You want to set clear academic goals with your major. Or what you want to do with your major. And that doesn't mean that you have to go into STEM. Okay. Fun fact, a lot of my better technology students are non-traditional and they have humanities degrees. So just so you know, um, you want to know your learning style. I mean, most people are visual and auditory. Uh, some people prefer seeing it, doing it, right? You want to develop a growth mindset. I almost didn't put that in because it just sounds so gimmicky. You really do though, you know. You you got to understand you're not going to know everything. I don't know everything. Okay. I've been teaching for 2 years. Uh, you ask me in 10 years, I'll still say I don't know everything. You won't. You need to build a foundation of knowledge, essentially. When you so in whatever you study, you need to really understand the introductory courses and materials and build off of that. And you need to understand that you're going to run into things you don't know. And when I do that, I read about them. I try to practice it. If it's like something I can, software wise, like if it's software I don't know, I play with it. Okay. I set up test environments. I'll go watch YouTube videos on it. I'll go read documentation. I will learn about it. I don't just sit there and say I don't know this and I just never touch it, right? That's not a healthy thing to do. And if you go to a university or college with that mindset, you won't do well in life. Um, One thing I always recommend students do is create a dedicated study space. I know that is hard. Okay, I am not oblivious to that. Excuse me. Um, you want to try. You want to try to minimize distractions. I know you can't always, you know. You want to try to minimize noise. I've personally found, and I have an issue with that, where if it's too noisy, too much going on, I just can't focus. Most people are like that though. I recommend noise canceling earbuds or headphones, right? Also in the study space, one thing I actually do is, see, I got my little cell phone here, is I plug in my phone and charge it, but it doesn't sit in my study space. It goes in my desk drawer. I minimize distractions, right? You also want to set a routine. I'll get more into that later. So we're jumping around a bit. So besides creating a study space, all that fun stuff, you got to have good time management skills. That is the number one issue I have found. Well, top three issues I found with students. You need to learn how to manage your time effectively. Use a calendar or planner. Uh, calendar, you know, it can be digital or physical. You can buy a you can go buy a physical planner. You can buy some nice ones. Moleskine makes a few. There's some other brands. You could also just use a journal that's numbered. As long as it's numbered pages, you can create a little index, right? You could do bullet journaling as your planner. You could just use calendar software as well. You can use if your school provides you with Outlook. Most schools will provide you with Word and all that, Office applications. You can use Outlook Calendar. You can use Google Calendar. If you pay for any type of email service, like if you maybe pay for Proton Mail, like I use that as my planner. I use Proton Calendar, right? It doesn't matter what you use. You got to use it though. And what is why do I need to use this? Well, I when I did undergraduate when I was in my undergraduate uh, courses, I I used a physical planner. I wrote down when items were due, right? And I would normally know this at the start of the course. I'd at least have a rough idea, enough to say, I know this will be due in 2 weeks. I know this other item should be due in 3 weeks, maybe 4. And I wrote all that down. And every week I would revisit it and update the dates as needed as I turned in assignments, right? And it really kept me on track. Now, when I switched to graduate school, I went all in on digital. Um, it does help the environment. And I just started using Proton Calendar, right? And just set when things are due, you know? And it kept me on track. It got me through graduate school. Um, when you're studying, right? And that's going to be outside of lectures and labs, that's going to be the majority of what you're doing. Uh, you should try the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. But Pomodoro technique is a time management method based on 25 minute stretches of focused work broken up by 5-minute breaks. Now, typically you would do a 15-30 minute break after 4 consecutive work intervals. And you know what? That got me through grad school. That got me a 4.0 as well. Okay. um, Dedicating scheduling time to sit down and study and work on your assignments is the smartest thing I could ever implore any student watching this to do, because you will succeed. Um, Also, prioritize your tasks using the Eisenhower matrix. I have a link to it if you want to check it out. And here's a big one. Avoid procrastination with accountability. Hold yourself accountable. Okay? You're not in high school anymore. Maybe you're older. Maybe you're a non-traditional student as well, and you're going to university or community college. I'm a very nice instructor. I'm a very nice guy, and I if a student tells me they missed something, they didn't turn something in, I'm like, sucks to suck. They're adults. It is their job to do their own work, turn it in, manage their own time, right? Um, so be accountable with assignment due dates, right? And avoid procrastinating. I avoid, like, if you have a scheduled study time, well, you're doing it. I mean, admittedly things happen, right? But then after those things are resolved, you should get back to it. Okay? I mean, you're you're paying for this, you know? You paying to learn. You should put in the effort. Um, so some other effective study habits, of course, If you're not using the Pomodoro technique, you could just do focus sessions. It depends, you know, you do 25 minutes, 25 to 50 minute stretches. It really depends on what you're learning, how you are studying, what you are studying. If it's like read a textbook and apply these concepts, yeah, you know, do I would do focus sessions. If it's watching a video, yeah, you could do that too, I guess. Really, it's just putting the time in. You can also try space out your learning, spaced repetition. That's used with flashcards. So a little bit of psychology. I'm not a psychologist, obviously, um, but I like reading and learning how the human brain works because I try to help students learn things. Because I always argue you can learn anything, right? I could teach anyone Linux or Python. You're not too dumb to learn it. No one is, right? Okay. Anyway, sorry, little tangent. So spaced repetition. It's an evidence-based learning technique performed with flashcards. Newly introduced and more difficult flashcards are shown with more frequency or frequently, while older and less difficult flashcards are shown less frequently in order to exploit the psychological spacing effect. What is that? I don't know, but I'll tell you, it works. And so I use spaced repetition to study for, I use a digital flashcard app though, but I use spaced repetition to essentially, not essentially, I did, to pass, to practice for both of my CompTIA certs. Real simple. I knocked both of those things out of the park, by the way. But I also use studying, I also use short focus sessions as well, right? Doesn't matter what you do as long as you use it, as long as you're learning, as long as you're improving. One thing I do is a lot of times I would summarize the material in my own words. Now, this is mostly for textbooks. Well, you could do it for video lectures too. Um, and if I'm reading a textbook on concepts, I will take notes. They're mostly just bullet points for me personally. If it's a video, a couple sentences on the key points of the video, important bits, right? And it helped me remember the information better. And you don't need to physically write it down. You can use a computer too. I know some people say, oh, written notes are better. No, everyone learns a different way. You do what works for you. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, try something else. And I will say, summarizing the material in your own words is an amazing tool. Don't use ChatGPT for it. You need to be the one physically doing it. If you just have generative AI tell you a summary of a video, it's not going to help. Because then, yeah, you'll have a nice little paragraph you can throw into a Word document. It's not going to help you. And this is a big thing for STEM fields. I always push my students to do. Apply what you learn. Okay? It is really big. If apply what you learn outside of the course. Use what you learn outside of the course. Okay? If I'm teaching Introduction to Linux, right? Linux is an operating system. For all of you that don't know, if I'm teaching that, yeah, outside of our assignments, quizzes, labs, I always try to push students, hey, you can run this on your home computer. You can use a virtual machine. Or if you go to a discount electronics store, maybe or eBay, pick up an old computer for $50. Maybe pick up an old ThinkPad for $100. You can go install Linux on it. You learn quite a bit. And that's the same thing like with Python. Hey, check out some of these other fun little projects. Work on them, right? I mean, you gotta in almost, or I guess we could switch over to a field I don't know a ton about. We could say literature, English. apply what you've learned. Write, maybe do short stories. Maybe you like sci-fi. Practice writing short stories, right? Maybe, respectfully approach your instructor and be like, hey, I've been working on a bunch of short stories in my free time, applying some of the concepts I've learned. And, just kind of ask him or ask her, him, or them. Be like, hey, could you maybe look them over if you get the time? Some instructors are very approachable to that. Others aren't. It depends. Um, anytime I do like Linux introductory or advanced, if a student tells me they have a project, I set up a meeting because I want them to tell me all about it, you know, and I'll give them like some tips and tricks, or if they get stuck, right? It really depends though. All right. Now, there's some smart note-taking techniques. There's a link to the Cornell method. I could probably do a whole video on it. I'm not. The important thing again is to do it. You can also do mind mapping, right? You could use Paint for a mind map. People have done that, but there are better tools. You can use OneNote, create a mind map if you really wanted. One big thing I always have students do, since I teach STEM, is their writing is, and I guess structure of information is not always the greatest. I have them do outlines before they create an essay. I say outline it, right? So you got your introduction of what you're going to be covering. You have your main points, you have subpoints, right? You have all you have your conclusion, right? Real basic, really simple, right? Do it. You will if you are in the STEM field right now, and you have a course that you're doing a lot of essays, try making an outline of the essay before you sit down to do a rough draft. And I guarantee you, overall, you will spend less time revising and editing it. Okay? Excuse me. Depending on the medium that you are learning, if you're in asynchronous courses, you have to do a lot of your own reading, watch a lot of videos. If you're in maybe optional lectures, if you're in synchronous courses, that is, you're showing up in person and you have to, you get lectured at by the instructor. Take notes, okay? Some instructors don't like technology. I don't agree with that. Whatever. If they do, they're weird about it. They don't want you to use your laptop or your phone. Whatever. Just write them down then. But I'd say for digital note apps, there's some really good ones. If you have access to Office through your school, which you probably do, you can use OneNote. It's amazing. You can also use Notion. I believe that's paid though. I try not to recommend paid apps often. Sometimes you can get a student discount. A really good free one that I like and that I use in both learning new things, collecting notes, and even my teaching notes is Obsidian. Completely free. Go check it out. And again, I will stress, asking ChatGPT or any AI to summarize a video or book is not note-taking. You will not learn it, and you will be sad. All right. Now we're moving on to the next fun thing. And you need to maximize your class time. Now, I know you may be a synchronous student, you may be going to an online university or taking online courses. This still applies to you. You want to be present and engaged in whatever you're doing. I mean, if it's a lecture, don't be on your phone. That is so, as an instructor, that is so disrespectful. The student's paying to come here to learn something. I'm being paid to teach it. And I just got people on their phones, or they're on their computers, or they're playing games. Don't do that. I mean, heck, most lectures aren't that long. So be present and engaged. Show up. Take notes. Okay? You're paying for it. And I don't, anytime I create things, I don't sit there to just to tick a box and say, okay, it's done. You know, I create things that I hope the students will enjoy, and I hope it helps them learn the material. Now, this is mostly for, I guess we could apply it for both, for synchronous and async. This is mostly for synchronous. Record key concepts, not everything. Seriously, if you got, and let's be real, this will happen. You'll get bad instructors. You'll get that instructor who makes a 50 slide, 60 slide PowerPoint. I try to keep mine small, but you'll get those that do that. You don't want to take notes on everything. You're not gonna, okay? Just focus on the key points. Do your best. If the instructor or professor's nice, maybe they'll give you the PowerPoint. Some don't, some do. Um, if you're in a asynchronous and even a synchronous course, if you have a discussion board, obviously you probably have requirements, but you can ask other questions. In all of I teach both synchronous and asynchronous courses, and in all of my asynchronous courses, I always have a non-graded discussion board for student questions. And depending on the course, like we get a bunch of threads going. Talk about projects we're working on. I'll share some of mine. Um, I mean, I remember that quite a bit, you know. And a couple students have come to me. One student came to me. Uh, I taught an intro to Python course a year ago, and he came to me saying how much he enjoyed my course because I always talk about the projects I'm working on, the issues I faced, and it helped him get better at documenting his code and working through errors. And I was like, wow, you know. Another thing when you're doing notes, review your now. We could say 48, 72 hours. Actually, look over your notes within a short time frame. Organize them. If they're digital, correct any spelling mistakes. If they're physical and it's really bad handwriting, maybe rewrite them. Okay. Throw out anything you don't need. My first time I went to university, sorry, I should say, first time I went to college was over a decade ago. I was a non-traditional student myself, but I used to always write down everything on the slides, and I struggled a little bit with that. Um, Ended up throwing out most of those notes. Okay, so organize your notes, right? Try to figure out what's useful, what's not useful. Normally, it's the key concepts, right? Um, excuse me. So another thing you want to do is use campus resources. Seriously, please. Every university and community college has a library with librarians whose sole job besides running the library and organizing books is to help you. Utilize it. They most likely know far more about APA and MLA than some instructors, right? Now, of course, sometimes at these libraries, you'll have tutoring centers, right? Use them. Both asynchronous and synchronous students, I always recommend use a tutoring resource, use a writing lab. There's a very good writing lab. It's a bunch of handouts you can get. It helps you with paper formatting, research, all that. It's from Texas A&M. And so you want to go into Google, you want to type Texas A&M Writing Center. Now, you can't use any of their resources like booking consultations because you're not a student, right? What you can do though is Their handouts, yes, they are very good for both undergraduate and graduate. Um, Honestly, some of the graduate resources, if you used in an undergraduate course, you will wow your professor. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about some tech tools. If you're using digital flashcards, use Anki. I'm going to mispronounce that. Or you can use Quizlet. For actually managing tasks, you can use Trello. I stopped using it. I only try to do free stuff. You can use Todoist. You can get a pen and paper, right? You can use your planner. If you're using a bullet journal, you can have a page, an index page for it, right? What matters is you do it. All right, here's some other fun things. So, you want to back up your work, okay? I'm a very fair professor. I'm a very nice guy. I always have the talk with every single student. It's normally a little handout of here's a bunch of resources to back up your work. Go use it. And I give them all that with the understanding of if you come to me in the 11th hour when an assignment is due saying that you lost it or had a computer issue, I'm probably going to say, that sucks. We're in 2025. If you create an essay, well, first of all, since we're also dealing with AI everywhere, save all your drafts, create a system, put it in a folder, right? Zip it up, put a password on it, put it on Google Drive, put it on OneDrive. Heck, you can use Git if you really wanted to back stuff up. You can use Proton Drive, it doesn't matter. You can use a flash drive too. Although if you're using a flash drive, you should probably have some digital copy as well, like a cloud copy. I would encrypt it or put a password on it, but because it's your work, it's important. I mean, imagine when I was going through graduate school, if I did not back up my work and I lost my thesis, you know what happened? I'd fail, and I'd say, well, try again next semester, right? So use cloud storage. You devise a backup strategy for backing up your work. You can also use focus tools as well to attempt to help you focus. I do not have that issue that much, but there's two there. One's the Forest app, the other one's Cold Turkey. Now, here's the next thing I'm going to spend some time on. Use a citation manager, please. Okay, if you are new to writing at the university or the college level, use a citation manager. Some schools will give you access to a online thing called RefWorks. You can use that. I always plug Zotero. It is fully free, with the exception of if you want upgraded cloud storage, you can buy more storage space. But you get a default amount. You get a small amount. It's more than enough. It's just text. But anyway, use Zotero. You could install it on almost any machine. You have a local install. You have the main application, and then you have a browser, a little browser extension. And I mean, if you use APA, well, it's got you covered. If you use MLA, it's got you covered. If you're doing some undergraduate research and need to figure out the styles for IEEE or ACM, guess what? It's got you covered. It can also help with in-text citations, as well as creating a bibliography, helps you organize your citations. Listen, I'm not an English professor, okay? I don't grade too harshly. But when I see the minimum effort put in on citations and actually using them, when I create videos telling students to go use a citation manager, because then you're not even thinking about it. It's like 5 minutes max. I get kind of annoyed. Sometimes they'll get a lower grade too, because it's so basic, right? And I guess while we're on the subject of being just basic things here, if you don't know how to create an APA title page, well, go back up a slide and remember the ask the Writing Center for help. You can also Google, how do I create an APA title page? Actually do that, okay? It's, I mean, if you want to view it in the mindset of it's worth points, well, it's probably worth points, but also it takes seconds to do. And the same goes for if you also use MLA. It's not that hard, y'all. All right, just do it, please. It also is very professional. Some other this now we're going into life lessons briefly. Um, Sleep. Okay, you don't want to be rolling up to a lecture with 2 hours of sleep, or maybe you didn't sleep that night because you were up all night playing Oblivion or something. Um, Try to, right? I in grad school there were some nights I got like 2 hours of sleep. Just don't be don't don't make a habit of it. We all gotta get a sleep less sometimes to get stuff done. But if you make a habit of it, you're gonna destroy your mental and your physical health. Eat brain healthy foods. Honestly, try to eat a balanced diet. I know that's hard. I should not be the one talking. I mean, heck, I like Spam and white rice. That's like my go-to comfort food. Very unhealthy. Very good though. Just, here's one. Stay hydrated. Actually drink water, okay? And this is coming from a guy who loves Pepsi and loves caffeinated beverages. I I sat down with a student one time who's having a ton of trouble taking exams, and found out that um, the student was always very caffeinated. We're talking like 2, 3 energy drinks a day. Don't do that. You know, I know kicking the caffeine addiction's hard. Trust me, I go through bouts with that. Another good thing is you want to exercise regularly. You know, I think there's a saying, a healthy heart, a healthy mind. It is true. I personally, teaching STEM being the nerd that I am, I'm bad about that. But I've been doing it more, and guess what? It feels amazing. It feels better than a cup of coffee. It gives me the same amount of energy. Okay? So try it. All right. Another thing. So manage stress and burnout. This is this is a tough one. You can try meditation. Kind of goofy, but you can try mindfulness too. You can go for a walk. You can go listen to music. You can go play a video game, right? You can go draw or journal, right? I guess meditation's not that goofy, because I guess some people's idea of meditation might be doodling, drawing. Fair. Um, you got to do it though. You got to find hobbies. Okay. I almost burnt out at grad school because I put 150% into everything. That is not a way to live. Do not do that. You will burn out. But yeah, I picked up hobbies. I started playing games more. I picked up a Steam Deck. You know. Um, you also want to take regular breaks when you can. I mean, most people in college are maybe working too, so it can get really hard. If you're not working though, you definitely want to pay attention when you have time off, holidays, right? Actually do something. Me personally, as an instructor, I never, unless it's like the last week of a course or something, I never try to assign stuff over breaks or over holidays. I know the students need to relax. All right. And here's two big things, you know. Don't be afraid to ask for help and keep a balance between school and personal life. There's some caveats for both of these things. All right. Don't be, you know, your university most likely has a counseling center. Use it. All right. Talk to your friends. Talk to other people in your major. Create you know, go make a study group. Be social. Go make a study group with some of your peers and just be like, man, this assignment sucks. You know. Um, some of you maybe get into that age where you may be drinking, trying drugs, right? Because you're in college, right? Don't let it consume your life, though. Okay. I'm not going to say don't do it. I no, I'm not going to say don't do it. Yeah, it's bad for you, but don't let it consume your life. And if you start to notice it is, you need to reach out and ask for help, right? Uh, okay, keep a balance between school and personal life. And what I mean by ask for help is normally your university has resources available. If you're a grad student and you have health insurance, you can normally utilize it, right? Maybe talk to a therapist even. I don't know. Keep a balance on between school and personal life. Okay, it's a hard one. Let me tell you, it's a hard one. Um, but you got to balance it. You're like a juggler, you know. And I wish I could juggle. I would just start juggling right now. I can't. Maybe that's something I should. Maybe that should be. Maybe that's something I should learn as a way to relax. Learn how to juggle. Yeah. Um, you just got to do your best. I, I can't tell you any good examples because I am bad at it. Right? I mean, I live for work, which is unhealthy. I obsess over when I'm making lectures, that sort of things. I obsess over getting everything right and getting everything perfect. It's not healthy though. Don't do that. Some final tips. I should really take some of these. Stay consistent, not perfect. Okay. You can have a 4.0 GPA and not know anything, right? You don't have to be perfect in life. You don't have to be perfect in school. Okay? I know the saying, C's get degrees. Yeah, they do. And, you know, I'm of the mind of staying consistent. I will admit I do get stressed out when I'm not perfect. It is what it is. It's life. So, um, I mean, it just example from my past. I'm was not a straight A student in undergraduate. I've gotten some B's and C's. Grand scheme of things doesn't matter. I tried. I did my best. When I failed, I had to get back up and try again. Right? Uh, when I bombed a math exam here or there, I had to look at the feedback. I had to study more. Right? All right. And you know, celebrate small wins. That's kind of self-explanatory. Reflect and adapt regularly. So you always want to reflect on the work you're turning in and the feedback you get. Um, and what I mean reflect on it is Don't sit there and go, dang, I got 5 points off because I forgot to do an APA title page and I didn't properly format my references. Actually reflect on that. Okay, well, the next assignment, next essay I do, I don't want to lose those points. So, okay, so I need to do a title page. I'm going to go look up a template of that. Okay, so that's a title page. And then I need to figure out how to get my references in order. There you go. Right? And but then you continually do it, right? And this one is kind of a high school guidance counselor. Believe in your ability to improve. It is true though. I have met so many students that say they are bad at what I teach, and at the end of it, they're an A or a B student. It just needs to click. I had a student taking a Python course. They struggled. I teach 7-week courses most of the time. They struggled all the way up until week 3, and it just clicked for them. They started getting it, and they reached out and they're like, "Hey, I'm starting to get this." I'm like, "Yeah, I can tell. Good job. Keep working at it." I mean, you're not too dumb to learn math. You're not too dumb to learn programming. You're not too dumb to learn anything about computers or any piece of technology. You just need to apply yourself, okay? Because you will improve. And that's it for this hour-long lecture on how to succeed in college. Listen, in future videos, I think I'm going to break down a lot of these topics. Like, I'm going to break down how to use APA effectively. I'm probably going to have an entire video series on using Zotero. At this point, I think they should be paying me. I advocate for it quite a bit. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, though, comment and ask me. Okay? If you're uh, if you need some study tips, something I didn't cover, comment. I mean, granted, I'm not going to reply within 24 hours. Like I know some people do that, but I'll get around to it. I'll give my thoughts. I'll give you some resources. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed it.